Yeah, hey, drop.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.
All right, we are back for the Lockdown Coverage Podcast, part of the Prime Coverage Sports Network. My name is Jim Wegler, aka Wegs. You can follow me on Wegspo and X on Instagram. Zel, where can we find you?
My name is Denzel Smith. You can follow me at Denzel Smith on Facebook, and you can follow me on Instagram at Windy City Kid.
And Mr. Scout, the Scout himself, is here.
The newly Christian Sean the Scout Davich. You can find me at Facebook at Sean Davich or Twitter/X, your preference, at Sean Davich. How are you guys doing this evening?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. We got your audio working, or
no, nothing like technical difficulties, right? At least it happened before the live.
Yeah, we've had it. I've had another one where the connection was no good. We had to kick them off. So, well, hey, we got plenty of league news, guys. I mean, it's kind of a crazy news day or news couple of weeks here. We've tried to keep up, but it's almost impossible to. Let's start off at the top. We've had a couple fifth-year options that were exercised. We had Bijan Robinson exercised for Atlanta. No surprise there. He's, in my opinion, probably the best back in the league. Also, Houston exercised options for C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, which kind of, as much as we talked about Stroud in the past, it kind of keeps us. He's only $26 million, which, it's almost what Cousins is making. And Will Anderson's only 21, almost under 22 million for one of the top pass rushers. So any surprises here, guys? I mean, Zel, this is, besides Stroud, maybe they could have let him walk, but any surprises on these exercises and the options?
Not really. No surprises here. Atlanta was going to pick up the fifth option on Bijan anyway. He's one of the best running backs in the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. And C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, Houston was going to keep them guys anyway, because who else you got besides C.J. Stroud, the quarterback position behind them, other than David Mills? So, yeah.
And Will Anderson's cheap. What do you think, Scott? What do you think of those? Just
no-brainers,
usual, right?
C.J. Stroud's got the upside, and Anderson, this is about as cheap as he's going to be for now, because he's going to eventually command a huge contract. So might as well exercise the option now while it's as cheap as can be. But he's going to command a lot of money. So Houston's got to play this right with both these guys.
Yeah, it really makes it that this is a huge year for them, because they're both basically still in that rookie deal. And next year they're going to have to make a choice whether Stroud's going to get moved on or Will Anderson can get paid $50 million or whatever the pass rush top is going to be at that point. So let's talk about Dontavian Wicks, who went to Philadelphia for a fifth rounder this year, sixth rounder next year. He's got a 1 year, $12.5 million extension to do him. So obviously Green Bay saved some salary cap, but even though I've seen this, to me, it's more of an impact on the AJ Brown's, saga that continues all the time. I saw that, what is his name? What's his name? Whatever, the GM of the Eagles is saying, this doesn't affect how we feel about A.J. Brown and so on and so forth, but they have tried to stockpile some other receivers around him. Wicks is obviously not the caliber of A.J., so I'll start with you, Sean. What do you think about this move, and do you think it impacts maybe A.J. Brown's going to be out the door before the draft next week?
He might be. It's going to depend on what he commands as far as the draft package goes. I've been seeing his name crop up with quite a few teams this last week. Mostly New England, because everybody knows they're receiver starved. They're really talent starved, essentially, on offense. But acquiring a name like Brown, that would be a big one, because, Dontavian Wicks just not that big name receiver. So Philly might be preparing to start over that position. These aren't glorious pickups, but if they're able to get something back for Brown, we'll see.
Gotcha. Zel, what are your thoughts?
Like Scout said, I've been seeing stuff about A.J. Brown getting traded to various teams in the news lately. And, Philly, they're trying to find their offense, because they didn't find it last year. And if they trade A.J. Brown, they got to get something good for him, because you trade him, you're basically saying, hey, he was the problem and not our quarterback. So Philly, they're doing whatever they want to do at this point. But Wicks, I don't even know who Wicks is. So that's questionable. Like you're just trying to build in pieces to accommodate your quarterback and the new offensive coordinator. So whatever works. But hey, it is what it is.
I'm beginning to wonder what Green Bay is doing too.
That's what I was just going to ask.
They made some questionable choices over the years, and I'm speaking as a Vikings fan, so it's not like I'm upset about it. I'm just confused.
Right, because the Dobbs walked out the door. Now Wicks leaves. That leaves you the rookie from last year, Golden, who was kind of underwhelming, right? You had Reed, who came back and was okay, and then you got the often hurt Christian Watson, who's a great player when he's healthy. Yeah, but he hasn't completed a full season since he got in the league. So go ahead, Sean. Go with that idea. What are you thinking with Green Bay? What are we thinking here?
Well, I mean, I've been confused basically since they made the trade for Micah Parsons, and that cost him an arm and a leg. And he's now hobbled. So what's Green Bay supposed to do?
Yeah.
Back to AJ Brown for a second. Yeah. The only reason this isn't a soap opera with him is because he hasn't said a lot on the debate.
That's true. Keep his mouth shut. Smart. Zel, what do you think about Green Bay and what they're doing and what they're not doing?
They're really questionable because I haven't seen Green Bay like this in a long time. And coming from Chicago, we don't like cheeseheads at all. But the cheeseheads are doing us a favor by doing the worst moves in the history of their organization. And this goes without saying, you trade for Micah Parsons, he gets injured during half of the end towards the end of the season. And then your quarterback goes down in a rivalry game, then comes back and then they get beat up by the Bears, who they all, this is a rivalry. But Green Bay, they're questionable. It looks like they're going down the hill instead of going up the hill. But we just have to see what this team going to do because they're supposed to be the best team in the NFC North.
Mm-hmm.
They looked okay at times last year. It's just, they raised questions with how they run their franchise. I still don't know what Jordan Love is after all this time in the league. Is he good or is he bad? I don't know yet.
Well, so I'll skip ahead to the next, not the arrest. We'll get to that in a minute. But I did see that Marvin Harrison Jr. is on the trade block, and I saw that Green Bay is a potential landing spot. Buffalo supposedly proposed a pretty good package, first round this year, and then Keon Coleman. But Green Bay, obviously, I'm not sure. There's no compensation traded to. There's just kind of speculation by a lot of sports writers. But if that was the case, would that change your mind about what they do? Do you think Harrison would be a viable player, or do you think that he's kind of lost in Arizona? It's a tough franchise right now. So, what do you think about that?
I mean, if the trade happens, Green Bay has to come up with something. They have to give draft picks because I don't know who you're going to trade for a Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, who do you trade on that team? Like, who's valuable to Arizona? Because Arizona's going through a rebuild as well. But the Buffalo trade probably could work because Arizona's rebuilding and Keon Coleman can get a fresh start in an organization that does not have any hate towards him or didn't want him in the first place. And, Harrison could go to Buffalo and he can get a new start. And Josh Allen, like we said in the past, he does need pieces, and he can add another piece onto the team with him and DJ Moore.
That would be a good receiving core with those two guys for sure.
Yeah.
Scott, what do you think?
Talking about Buffalo again, how scary would they look on paper with a number one receiver like him, among Josh Allen's weapons? It'd be hard pressed to find a real number one receiver he's really had since coming into the league, one who's been consistently around him. He could be that guy. So Buffalo seems much more in a position to land him because I don't know what Green Bay can offer. They made that big trade last summer for Parsons. I'm not sure, what they would have left over to get him now, but they could use Harrison, but they probably can't acquire him. Arizona would probably lean more toward draft picks because, of their rebuild.
Yeah, I have to go back to my notes, but I don't even know if Green Bay had a first round pick because of the Parsons trade. So to your point. Okay, well, let's talk. I mean, this is just kind of hits the news. It's not like we got to go deep into this, but another Dallas guy, Marquise Bell, arrested for possession on Friday. Obviously, not a good look for the Cowboys. They've had a tough offseason in some ways. So, you think this will impact what they're doing in the draft, or this guy was not really at the top of their list anyway? It's a toss up.
I don't think they're going to go too much into this just yet. I think they want to maintain their focus on the draft first because it's close. But I don't think they're going to let this go. There'll probably be some kind of discipline for him. My guess is they won't announce anything unless it's like, not in the non-distracting way and maybe even after the draft. But they won't let this go. Not even Jerry Jones will overlook this.
Mm-hmm. Just Cowboys, man. Cowboys
again in the news, man. Oh man. This won't affect them going towards the draft, but this is going to get handled like underneath the rug. This is a Jerry Jones type disciplinary. So whatever happens to Marquise Bell, it won't be as big, but if it does become big and it does overshadow them in their free agency in the draft, then that is a problem. But knowing Dallas, they have media plugs and everything, so it'll get swept under the rug.
Just putting it out there. Okay, guys. Another minor news. We'll get to some more major news in a second. Kenny Moore, safety for Indy. He's asked out, get traded out of Indy. Kind of, they both agreed that he can be traded. I'm not sure what that even means. He's a veteran safety, so they obviously want to get younger at the position. So maybe that affects their draft position or draft what they're looking for this year. I don't know if he wasn't a great player, but he's certainly a player, and they were a good team last year. So losing leadership's never great. Any thoughts on this, fellas?
I was reading a little bit into this. He's not one of those players that'll jump out at you based on what he's accomplished, especially last year. But he's also a veteran presence, so maybe that's why a team like the Vikings, who are shorthanded in their secondary anyway, could pick up a player like him. Numbers aren't spectacular, but it also may benefit him playing in Flores' scheme, which a lot of players in this league want to do. So, if he doesn't, if he's not fetching a hefty price tag, I could see a team like the Vikings pursuing him. If not them, maybe another team that needs some help in their secondary, or maybe needs a veteran presence for some younger guys. So I see that as a possibility.
Got you. Any thoughts, Zel?
Yeah, this will be like the 7th player the Colts have let go this season.
I know.
So he was a veteran on this team, and like we said last week, they're trying to clean house, trying to get younger talent on the defense. They had a lot of veterans last year on that defense, and like Scout said, another team can use him. Like, if he's not getting paid or he doesn't want to be on this team anymore, like, grant him his trade or, release him. And that's what Indianapolis is doing. They're cleaning house, basically. They want a younger and fresher defense. They want a younger and fresher offense. So why not? And I believe he'll end up on a team. It's going to be free agency, and some teams are probably looking for a safety out there that can bring a veteran presence to a younger draftee or somebody. So, hey, it's free game.
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs lost a ton in the secondary. I'm not sure they lost safeties per se, but that's both corners. So they could use some guys. They got a lot of draft picks to burn. We'll talk about that in a minute. Speaking of these guys, so Jawan Taylor, offensive tackle, signed with Atlanta, which small, $5 million deal. Caleb McGarry retired, which is a little bit sudden on the 8th. So, that's shoring up that offensive line a little bit for two in the gang. So we'll see if that makes a difference. Let's talk about a couple of things that are a little bit more noteworthy, I suppose. I guess I'll go with the more minor thing first. So Ty Simpson, he's the Alabama quarterback that's coming to the draft. I didn't think he was a first rounder personally, but he is going to attend the draft now. So usually they don't ask guys that are going to sit there and twiddle their thumbs to day 3 if they're not going to be drafted, and at least at probably the end of the first round, maybe the second round. So I don't know, Zel, do you think this means that somebody's going to actually take him in the first round, like Pittsburgh or somebody like that?
Hey, he's confident. This draft isn't about quarterbacks this year. There's only one quarterback that we know that's going to get drafted first overall,
That's right.
And we're looking at Ty Simpson. I congratulate Ty Simpson for coming to the NFL draft because a lot of kids, they don't get to come to the NFL draft. They just stay at home, play it safe, or they don't want to get embarrassed on national television. Ty Simpson, on the other hand, he has a great feeling that he's going to get drafted early in the first round. So good luck to him. But if he does it, then you're just there for the experience and just showing up. I don't think he's going to show up on round 2 anyway. So, and
Any ideas what team? We can talk about more next week, but you got any ideas what teams he might go to?
I mean, Pittsburgh's still available because Aaron Rodgers still hasn't signed anything. So.
And it's just really starting to get annoying.
Yeah, and the fact that the draft is in Pittsburgh, it's like it's a double whammy.
Or Arizona, but
maybe he's waiting to surprise him until the day before.
Right, Sean, what do you think? Do you think you'll be a first rounder now with this attendance, and then also what teams beside or Pittsburgh, if you agree, or if you think there's another team?
First off, I think they asked Ty Simpson to attend this draft for a number of reasons. One, Mendoza's not going to be there. They want some kind of quarterback headliner, even this is not a deep quarterback draft class. But second off, I don't think they'd have asked him to come if they didn't think he was going to be, a first or second round draft pick, because what's he going to do? Sit back until round 3 or 4? No, that's not going to happen. He'll be drafted sooner than people think, probably late first, early second, and he'll be there for it. He probably wants, I don't know whether it's him that wants the publicity or ESPN to benefit from him being there, things like that. So I think this is happening for a number of reasons, mainly because Fernando's not going to be there, and I still commend Fernando for wanting to take this in with his loved ones more than anything else.
Sure. The other team I've heard that it could be he could go to is the Rams. Obviously, Stafford is at the end of his career. I know you'd be happy about that, Zel, but I'm just telling you what I heard. You don't want him there, or you want him there?
I mean, he's going to come to the West regardless. Even if the Rams don't get him, I mean, you still need a team in the West that needs a quarterback. Gardner Minshew is not going to be the starter for long in Arizona, so why not draft Ty Simpson? But if he does go to the Rams, he'll play backup for probably 1 year. Because I forgot who their backup was.
I think it's Jimmy G.
Still Jimmy G? Wow.
And that's why I don't see him going to the Rams.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll talk more in the drafts going over the West next.
Right.
But, the big scandal we didn't talk about last week, I guess we could have. Maybe it hit when we were doing our podcast, is that Diana Rossini stuff with Mike Vrabel and this debacle. So
cue the Coldplay music.
Yeah, she resigned from the Athletic today, and I don't know, man. I'm not much of a gossip guy, but obviously this lit the world on fire. Did you guys have thoughts about this whole situation outside of her? Now it's kind of whatever. I mean, general public embarrassment, I suppose. I mean, they were just holding hands, but there probably was more there when this first fire. So,
like I said, this is that ridiculous Coldplay thing all over again from last summer. Diana resigned purely because she wants to stay out of the spotlight for the time being. She'll resurface when things are better off for her. Whether she's guilty or not, I really don't know, and frankly don't care. So she's doing the right thing for herself by stepping away from the spotlight for a while until things clear up. So I do commend her for that. But if she's truly guilty, then she needs to figure some stuff out with both herself and her family.
Zel, I mean, I'm sure you've held a hand or two by a pool, but it's just friendly.
I don't know. If I held a hand friendly, I'll get messed up, but I don't know about all that. For Miss Rossini, I heard she got offered a job before she resigned, but stuff just happens, and I don't know what to think. If she resigned, that's good on her, but a lot of family situations need to be reevaluated in this situation. But I guess you could say they were holding hands, being friendly Wegs, I guess.
You don't ever have privacy these days when you're in the spotlight, do you?
Right. I mean,
crazy.
The whole thing about that, you can't be going to resorts. You got to be going like secret handshakes and speakeasy, something underground.
Do what Aaron Rodgers does. Do whatever Aaron Rodgers does. Who knows what he does?
Does he even have a wife? That's a little speculative, but we've never seen this woman. He's supposedly married.
But he at least knows how to be secretive. These guys could learn from him.
He used to go with that Corley girl, the actress, but he broke up with her for a certain reason that he didn't like. So,
yeah,
it's Aaron Rodgers'
turn. He just wants our attention.
That's a soap opera.
Let's talk just a few other free agent signings. They're just one-year deals for the most part. Cameron Samples signed with San Francisco from Cincinnati. Their defensive line wasn't that great there, but they are trying to add some depth in San Francisco. Brandon Allen, I guess, is going to be the backup for the Giants. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't know how that's going to all work, but he wasn't a great starter ever either. Cornerbacks, Jack Jones is going to San Francisco again from Miami, and then Kamon Hall is going to Tampa from Tennessee. The one I saw today was Nasir Adderley is going to sign with the Chargers, so that's a good signing. I think he was a pretty good player. So any of these signings like get you excited or just kind of make you an indication of what's going to happen in the draft next week or for these rosters? I'll start with you, Scott. Any thoughts?
Well, Cincinnati, based on how they've done this offseason, they're going to really have to get creative defensively this season. They're already not a great defensive team to begin with. They're going to have some real trouble getting to the quarterback. They're not going to rack up some big numbers unless they get creative in their schemes. Maybe blitz a lot more. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with them. But that's one team that jumps out at me. They're just not going to be a very good front seven.
That's right. Zel, any thoughts with these guys?
I can see from the free agent watch that San Francisco's really beefing up their defense. Because that was their problem last season. I mean, we know they had injuries last season that could have prevented them from having a good team, but overall, they're doing pretty good moves as in free agencies. The Brandon Allen thing, doesn't the Giants have two quarterbacks, or are they free agents already? Because I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. That's a great question. You're talking about Wilson and
Winston.
Let's look at
the preacher's backup. That's what I call it.
Swallowing W's. I will say he had one of the plays of the year last year with that when he caught that pass and broke the tackles. Let's take a look at what it says on the official roster. But this doesn't mean anything yet.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have Winston on there. It looks like, Mr. Ciara, because that's what I'm a big Ciara fan, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. Ciara is one of my top 5 now. But Mr. Ciara is not on the roster according to Our Lads, which is my usual source for this company. So he's a free agent. Russell's a free agent. Russ can cook somewhere else. So I don't know.
Man, don't even want to get into all of that.
Oh my.
I'm pretty sure Harbaugh doesn't want to deal with, Wilson and his weirdness. Yeah, it's not just congregation. I heard, you're a Seattle guy. You know more than we do. I heard all this stuff he never he would call his teammates on a blocked number and all this other stuff. He wasn't like one of the squad, you know what I mean? Back in the Legion of Boom days, it wasn't like he was hanging out with the guys. He was kind of off to himself, which is fine, but
Yeah, I actually met him one time. He's actually pretty cool at one of his camps that he was doing in Seattle.
Okay.
He's actually pretty cool, laid back dude, but I kind of believe some of the stuff they're telling because he's more, from what I've seen in the background, he's more into faith and he doesn't do all that partying and stuff. He's more of a laid back guy, but if he's quiet like that and want to be discreet, that's how he is. But
you tend to behave yourself more when you're like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's got a high quality woman there. He's had 5 kids with her. I mean, I don't blame that dude at all. I'd stay at home too. Whatever she says, no problem. Let's go do a photo shoot in Miami or wherever I saw him on the beach somewhere. I'm like, yeah, exactly. He's making more money outside of football. That's for sure. Well, let's get into breakdown this week for the last divisions, AFC West, NFC West. So some of the teams that I know Zel's close to, and then obviously a lot of teams that are really good. So let's start the AFC West. This is kind of interesting. I went, based on the standings, Denver doesn't have a first-round pick. They do have 7 picks, but their first pick is not till 62. So it's not like they're going to get a huge player unless they make some trades here. They obviously traded for Waddle, down in Miami. They probably need some offensive line depth from what I can see. And to me, even though the defense is great, you can always use more guys on the back end. They seem to have enough pass rushers to me. So safety and cornerback depth. Because when I will say, what's the top corner there? The top corner went down. He was, they were good, but not as good, right? And obviously it's hard to replace, the best corner of the game. So what do you guys think about the Broncos and what they need? We'll start with you, Zel.
From what I've seen last season, it was a good season for them. I had the Broncos coming in to beat the Chiefs actually in their division last year, because what I've seen from the year before, I've seen, since Russell got kicked to the can, Bo Nix took over, and Bo Nix played that role that Sean Payton needed to play. So from what I've seen from the offseason, I think Waddle was a good wide receiver pickup. They did need another wide receiver other than Cortland Sutton and the other guy. I forgot his name. He just resigned too.
They got Mims.
They got Marlon Humphrey or whatever his name is.
Humphrey,
other than him, and then the running back situation that has to get better. Other than that, I would say they do need a little bit more on the O-line, just of what happened in the last game of the season. But their defense has been strong. Their defense has been strong, and they just really need help on the O-line from what I've seen. But other than that, if Bo Nix comes back healthy, he's ready to play, that offense could be lethal with adding Waddle and Cortland Sutton and Lil Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah. And Surtain was the guy I couldn't think of, by the way. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah.
Well, first off, like you guys said, they need to protect the Knicks better. When you have the time to throw, you can throw to anybody. And when you got a guy like Sutton and Waddle, not too many people are talking about another team they need on offense. That's tight end. That one really wasn't good for him last year. So
I agree with you.
I don't know if they'll address that. I don't know how deep tight end is in this draft, but seeing as they only have one draft pick in the first 2 days, that doesn't really favor them. So probably the best player available they'll take with that pick, depending on what their biggest team need is. They're solid on defense. They tend to be historically. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that first pick, since it's the only one they have in the first 2 days. But they need to use it on offense one way or the other.
Yeah, use it wisely.
Who is their tight end? Is it Evan Ingram?
Well, they had Evan Ingram. They had another guy in there who was more of a blocking guy. Ingram he flashed here and there. I mean, he's getting older.
Yeah.
He had some big games, and then he just disappeared in games. It was like, who is this guy? But maybe it's just the way Knicks kind of distributes the ball. I mean, when he takes his shots on the field, Knicks can be pretty lethal. I mean, I don't think he's got a huge arm, but he takes some big shots, and he's ballsy, man. He just takes some shots. Like, sometimes I'm like, why is he throwing that ball? And then 50-50 ball, and some guy comes down with it. You know what I mean? So having a second guy like Waddle to stretch the field for Cortland, I think that's really, really great too.
And that's good for the open field, but then, tight ends are, big in the red zone. So that's why you need another trusty red zone target. 3 touchdowns scored all of last year by Denver tight ends. That won't do it in this league.
Yeah, and especially because, Peyton has had some pretty good tight ends over his career as a coach. So let's talk about the Chargers that finished second. They only have 5 picks, but they do have first-round pick, number 22 overall. And they actually have 2 picks before the Broncos anyway, because their second pick is 55. I don't know. To me, they addressed a lot of offensive line issues. They got Biadasz, I don't know how to say that dude's name, from Washington, and Strange from Miami. I think they still need wide receiver. For me, in the playoff game, it was like the only guy who can get open is the little guy, right? Like, it's like, come on, man. Like, somebody else has to do something besides McConkey. Johnston had a pretty good year, but he got swallowed up, when it counted. And then on defense, I think they need edge rushers. They did get Tomlinson from Arizona at defensive tackle. And then they always, besides Derwin James, who's great safety, they probably need another guy either at safety or corner that can make plays. So we'll start with you, Scott. What do you think about this group, and what do they need out of these 5 picks, which isn't that many?
They need help off the edge for sure. They'll have their pick of them in the first round, but they need some O-line help in the worst way.
Yeah,
they do. So if they want to compete with the Broncos and probably the Chiefs again, because we know they'll reassume their elite form before long. Maybe not this year, but next. But they need to get their quarterback protected, especially in the interior. And they had some injuries there last year too, so they need to be healthy.
Yeah, the kid from Penn State is an option at Vega, Ione, who's supposed to be really good for Penn State as a guard. But I have seen a lot of people mock him with this Thineman guy from Oregon, who's elite. He's like a pretty good high level safety. Zel, what do you think? What do you think they need the most?
Basically what Scout said, they need an O-line because the last game I saw them in, Mr. Justin Herbert was getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is coming from a guy who's been in the league for like 6 years now?
At least 4 or 5 years, maybe 6.
Well, he's been paid now, so I think it's 6 years, yeah.
And he's been around the block.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been to the playoffs, I think, only out of the 6 years?
Ooh. He's been
at least twice.
Actually, I think it's 3 times because they got
one of those times in that big lead they blew in Jacksonville.
They blew it in Jacksonville. They got manhandled against Houston 2 years ago, and then they got beat against Patriots, right? So they're falling short, obviously.
Yeah, they need to get their offense together. They're getting their defense together. I think bringing what's his name from Miami? I just forgot his name. So dang fast. He was just the head coach. What's his name?
Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel on the offensive coordinator. I think he can get the ball rolling with Justin Herbert. And because their offense wasn't good last year. They were 50-50. Like the Chargers team I saw like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, they can score, but this team last year couldn't score a dime, and they barely won close games to have an 11-6 record and to be second in the AFC West. It's pretty amazing. Even though you got a trash offense, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
but
coming up clutch is one thing, but talent's another.
Yeah, but I mean, when Slater went down as an offensive tackle, this offense could not protect Herbert. When he was in there, they were much better. But obviously, you got to have a backup. You got to have a swing tackle at minimum, and then maybe like you said, up the middle too. Because you play a Houston or you play some team that or even Denver, they're just going to blitz the living hell out of you, and you're not going to do anything with the football.
Yeah, they're going to disrupt you through the gaps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about the Chiefs. They actually have, out of this group, the second most picks in the division. They have 2 in the first round. They have the 9th pick overall and the 29th. They also have the 40th pick. So they have 3 picks ahead of Denver, so they can get well quick. They did address running back with Walker. Sorry about that, Zel. Maybe you're okay with it. I think they do need a tight end. They need some offensive line help, in my opinion. Defensive line, they addressed quite a bit. They got Tonga from New England, who's a pretty good run stopper. Probably need to work on edge. Cornerbacks, they try to address some of the guys with Kohu from Miami, Elam from Tennessee. I think it's a step down from what they had last year. And Gilman from Baltimore at safety. So they're trying to address more on the defense and free agency, it looks like. But they've got 2 shots here. They could get on defense, they could get Bain from Miami. If Bailey somehow falls, they could get him at 9. They could go with Sadiq if they really want him at 9. I don't think he's going to fall to 29, who's the elite tight end from Oregon. And then obviously offensive lineman could be at 9 as well. So, Zel, what do you think? What do you think they should do with their pick at the ninth pick?
That's tough. From seeing this team go to the top of the league to go to the bottom in 1 year, this year they should really focus on their offense more than their defense, because their defense can always get better. We know the Chiefs defense has a defense that shows up when it's time, but they're really known for their offense, their explosiveness from Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey's getting old, so they're probably going to want to go younger with a tight end. They got Walker, but who's the backup to Walker? You got a Walker. He can't do everything that's on his back. He's going to get tired, and he's injury prone some of the time. So you also got to watch that as well. But I think they should focus on their O-line, drafting a tight end, a younger tight end, and focus on the wide receiver, because I only know 2 people on their receiver team other than Worthy and Rasheed Rice. So that's questionable as well. But this is a time for them to focus on their offense and focus later picks on defense.
Let's not forget Justin Fields was picked up. I didn't put that on the card.
Ooh,
just so you know, their backup runners are Brashard Smith, who was drafted in the 7th round last year, and they have the famous Amari DeMarcado, that may have lost a lot of people survivor picks last year when he flipped the ball without scoring. But anyway, Scott, what do you got? What do you got here? What are we thinking?
Well, Zel is exactly right. If the Chiefs need anything in this draft, it's offense. Even if it's not a tight end, just another offensive playmaker outside of, Rice and Worthy and Kelsey, who is, in the twilight of his career. Who do they have? Fields will be a guy who will run it almost as much as he passes. We all know that about him. So maybe that'll take some pressure off Walker. But once Mahomes come back, they'll probably be a little more one-dimensional, as we know. So they'll probably need an understudy at running back. So we'll see. Maybe they'll address that in the middle of the draft. But then, in the back half, some defensive help, maybe a complimentary edge rusher to put more pressure on the quarterback.
They certainly have enough draft capital to move up if they wanted to take a player, especially that 29th pick. Yep. I think they could do that. So at 9, it's just the question is, are they going to protect the quarterback or are they going to go with an elite playmaker? Because there's going to be one of those. There's like 3 super top high-end receivers in this draft. There's other ones that could be drafted in the first round, but there's 3 top guys that could definitely be at that 9, or Sadiq, which might be too high for Sadiq. I mean, he's a really good dude's a physical specimen, but I don't know if he is Kelsey with his hands. He's definitely a workout warrior, but we can talk more about that next week. Let's go to the Raiders now. We talked about how they handled free agency. They have 10 picks still. They've got a ton of draft capital here. We know they're going to take Mendoza in the first pick. That's fine. Then they pick basically every round. They've got a couple in the 4th round, actually 3 in the 4th round, and a couple in the 6th round. So we know what they did with Cousins. They picked up Naylor from Minnesota. They also got Young from Seattle, Lindenbaum on the offensive line, which is a big pickup, Burford from San Francisco. And then on defense, they went to town. I mean, Kwity Paye from Indy, obviously Crosby ended up staying. Quay Walker and Dean in the middle now from Green Bay and Philly, respectively, and Johnson from Buffalo at corner. So to me, it's like, I don't know, maybe can they go more offensive line, or can they, at the later picks, or maybe try to get a little bit better in the secondary. So, Scott, what do you think with these guys? What do you think they're going to go after Mendoza? We know they're going to do that.
First off, for passionate Raider fans, they haven't been consistently relevant in the league for probably 25 some years. You have to be excited with the groundwork that's laid out in front of them, the foundation. They've addressed a lot of needs already. They have a lot of draft capital. They have a lot who they can target. I'll speak for Naylor, obviously being a Minnesota Vikings guy. Vikings' loss was the Raiders' gain. Naylor's a fantastic receiver, very underrated. And Cousins, he's probably, I don't know whether he's going to start right away, but even he admitted they have to go with the best guy, even if it's not me, quote unquote. Sure. I like what they have in place. We'll see. I think they should target offense first because they need to compete with the rest of this tough division. But they have the capital to do it, and with all those mid-round draft picks, you can stockpile a lot on either the front or the back half with that many picks in the middle.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think?
Like Scout said, this team has already done what needs to be done. Like free agency, they were the talk of the town. You go out and you address your defense. You keep Crosby in the trade that was supposed to send to Baltimore, but
and even if it was messy,
it was a messy trade, and he stayed, and he's welcome to be staying with this new teammates that they bringing in and new additions. And I like what they did with their offense, and I like what they did with their defense. And I think this draft they're gonna stock up on some more help on defense a little bit more and a little on the offense, because on offense they're pretty stacked. Mm-hmm. They still got
Powers. You got Powers, Cousins. You got it's really maybe another outside receiver, but they've got
and the talent's going to be there. It's just a matter of execution.
Definitely.
So are we saying that the Raiders are going to climb up the standings in this division? I mean, it's a little early, guys.
What I'm saying is they'll
Early.
surprise people at times this year. I don't. The 1 year turnarounds are so rare in this league, but that doesn't mean they're not capable of surprising teams, up and down schedules. So I can see that happening this year. But don't expect me to crown their ass like Teddy Greenwood used to.
That's questionable because Mahomes, we don't know what his timetable looks like. Sure. We don't know what Bo Nick's timetable looks like. So it really comes down to the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Raiders. And right now, the Raiders are looking like the better team right now. If they get together and build that chemistry early, they can be a surprise, just like Jacksonville last year in the AFC South. So I wouldn't be surprised if they want to take the crown early from the Broncos. So.
Yeah, I mean, if this team was in and I know Kenny would hate me for saying this, but the AFC North, they could contend. I mean, that division's questionable in my mind, up and down.
They'd probably win the NFC South.
Yeah. So, NFC South for sure. Let's go without saying there. But I'm just saying it's just a tough division. You're looking up at, one of the best players in the league, and you've got some really good teams, but I do like that they became respectable. Let's see if they can get to 6, 7, 8 wins, and like you said, be in every game. And I think Kubiak's going to make some things happen on the offensive end. So,
and you're only going to get better with every division game you play when it's this rugged.
That's true. Let's talk about the NFC side. We'll start with Zel's team, the Seahawks. They have a mighty 4 picks this year. They do have the 32nd pick in the first round, though. It's kind of like every last pick in a round, pretty much. And then they don't pick from the 3rd until the 6th round. So it's a little bleak. If you don't only have to watch the first 2 days, basically, and then see what happens unless they trade back. They did get, it's not replacement for Walker, but they did get Wilson from Green Bay to try to shore that up. I don't know how you feel about the tight end, so I want to hear what you have to say there, Zell. But Charbonnet's not going to be starting the season, I don't think. Maybe he can with his knee. On defense, they lost a lot of depth. So they did pick up, Washington guy, Igbenogene. I'm trying. And then Thomas at safety from Indy. So to me, they definitely need to they have a great defense, but they need to replace some of that depth they lost. And definitely on offense, could look at some guys at running back, tight end. So Zella, the floor is yours. What do you think this team should do with their picks? Their 4 that they got.
So me looking at you when you said 4 picks, I was surprised by that. First pick, I think they should go get a running back. The running back situation is tough. We signed Velvis Jones Jr. He's decent at best. We don't know when Charbonnet is coming back. We don't know if he's coming back at the beginning of the year or towards the middle of the end. And judging by what the people said, they like Charbonnet more than Kenneth Walker, which is actually surprising, because they both split runs. But I think Charbonnet is more powerful, I would say. He's more of a power back and more bigger. So I see why they kept him. But they need to get a running back. Need to get another edge rusher because DeMarcus could retire at any time. So need to be on the lookout for that. And they can trade some of their picks, honestly, because they trade down more or trade up. I think they should trade down more because you're the world champs, whatever, how you want to put it. You're the Super Bowl winning champions. And you're going to need more value going down than up because you can find hidden talent anywhere in these rounds. And that's what they need to do. They need to find hidden talent for their defense later on. And the tight end situation needs to be addressed as well. They probably go younger, go with a sneaky tight end. So we'll see what they'll do. But offensively, they need to work on getting the running back. That should be the number one focus with that first round pick.
Before we jump to Sean, do you like the kid Price out of Notre Dame? Would you be excited if they got him at 32? Or is there somebody else that you're eyeing at that?
I wouldn't be surprised they pick him. I wouldn't be surprised because it's now or never. And you go with somebody that I don't know and I have to look them up to see, he's going to be a good talent. I can't rate off that. I can rate for only what I see through a few games. But if they know something I don't know, good. Because they have been pretty good with their past draft picks from last year. So I got faith in them.
Okay. All right, Sean. Do you concur with what he's saying, or you got a different
Absolutely, I do. Especially with that first round pick. If they don't pick a running back in the first round, I will be just beyond shocked. The way it panned out. I mean, Charbonnet, we don't know what's going to happen with him yet, and that's a position that's not nearly as valued as it was years ago on teams. It's a pass happy league now, but you need a running back in order to take pressure off. And I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle took a few steps back this year. What they lost, and it was basically a cakewalk to the Super Bowl after the NFC Championship. That was the real Super Bowl in my mind. But they should address offense in the first half of the draft. Maybe they'll trade back a little bit toward the back half. Maybe stockpile 2 or 3 more draft picks, and that's where they should go for defense. I say edge first, like Zel said, and then some secondary help afterwards. See how they can do there.
Yeah, if they can get a top edge guy at 64,
yep,
great. You know what I mean? Maybe they can fall back on that 96 pick and get 2 or 3 fourth rounders or fifth rounder or something, get some depth. Yeah, the biggest thing is if Price gets snatched up before 32, will they just drop back? Because then they can maybe drop back to 35, 40 or whatever to get the next guy on the list. That's the biggest thing. I think you're right. I don't think they have enough juice to go up to go grab a guy. They got to let him fall. So we'll see if other guys in their way. I mean, the Chiefs they're one of them too. They could at 29, they could take that guy, pair him up with Walker. So
every so often when a target doesn't fall to you, I mean, they could trade back maybe 8 or 9 spots. Not a bad spot to fall to, and you maybe even stockpile 1 or 2 extra picks. You see it every so often in these drafts. When you want to back just a few spots, you often grab another, pick.
So the Rams, they have 7 picks here. They've got the 13th pick, which came from Atlanta. They've got 61. They've got some picks, but then it kind of falls off. Then they got 6th round, 7th round picks. So they've got to hit some early. They got 3 early picks, and then it drops off. Quarterback is a possibility. Obviously, we know we've got Matthew Stafford, but he's only got a year or 2 left on his career likely. Wide receiver with Nakua and his issues, and who knows what's going to happen. I've seen Lemon potentially going to him at 13. So on defense, this team has addressed cornerback by taking the Kansas City guys. They took both guys from Kansas City, Watson and McDuffie. I still think they probably need an impact player not in the front 4. I think it's more the back end because their back end was really not good in big games. So, Scott, what do you think on this one? First of all, do you think they'll take a quarterback that early at 13? Probably not. But wide receiver, do you think they'll go quarterback at 61? Or do you think they're just going to ride it out with this year with Jimmy G? You mentioned that and just try to get best available.
Well, again, not a rich quarterback draft, so they definitely won't do it early. If they do in this draft, I would say they probably do it in the mid-round. Defensively, I love the cornerback signings. Those were very good on paper for sure, and that's KC's loss, LA's gate right there. Maybe a little bit more depth at the defensive position in the draft. And whoever they draft at quarterback probably will be relegated to 3rd string at least out of the gate. So that's why I don't see them wasting one of their earlier picks doing it. So we'll see how that goes. And the wide receiver situation is going to be another one to keep an eye on if Nakua gets disciplined. So that could affect their plans.
No, I agree. That's why I think wide receivers in play. Zel, what do you think?
The Rams. Oh, man.
Hatred. I know. I get it.
Yeah. I know there's only the 2 teams I don't like in this division, the Rams and the 49ers. But the Rams, I don't think they'll draft a quarterback with that first round pick. From what I'm hearing, they're likely to draft a wide receiver, which I think they do need because you got Nakua whenever he comes back. I know he's going to come back early. Rehab doesn't last that long. From what I'm hearing, they need a wide receiver. They need an offensive tackle and a cornerback. Because their defense is not bad, but they can be better. they could be better. That's what those later picks are for. But that first overall pick, it has to be a wide receiver. I think Matthew Stafford needs another weapon besides Nakua all the time, and then he goes to Devontae, and then who else you're gonna go to? Tyler Higbee.
Yeah.
That tight end is
Higbee.
awful. Yeah.
And then you also have what's his name, the running back.
They got Corum and they got
Corum and
Williams. They got a pretty good duo there right now.
Yeah. So they really need to focus on getting that wide receiver because I think that will complete them. You know, they got Jimmy G as the backup and they got Stetson Bennett the fourth from Georgia. And
Yeah.
he's whatever. So yeah, they just need to focus on getting Maki Lemon at this point.
I mean, this is their last shot, basically. I mean, Stafford might play another year after this, but this is the one. If they're going to win one, get another one. I know they won already.
And you have to look at them on paper. It's like, let's say Nakua's not in the picture at first. You look at the team on paper. Who've they got?
Right. So yeah, I think they'll go with somebody there. They could trade back a little bit and maybe pick up some draft capital for those mid rounds, but because there are a couple guys. Lemon's a really good player. He didn't show out in the combine very well, but he's a good player. They got Tyson. Jordan Tyson's a good player. There's a couple guys that could be in this range. They could drop back and pick up some picks. All right, let's talk about the other hated team, the 49ers here for you. So the 6 picks, they picked 27th. They've got a couple early picks and then it's fourth, a couple in the fourth. That actually have 4 picks in the fourth, nothing late, which is interesting. They did land Mr. Evans, Mike Evans, but they also got Christian Kirk. That fell under my radar there. I missed that. They probably need a little offensive line help. To me, it's like they've got, the great one who's going to retire at some point, right? In that one. So if Sadiq could be here, also, obviously, you've got our guy, look, to me, it's like if the guys get hurt like they did last year, they have no depth. This is the issue. And that's on defense. They kind of address more of the depth with free agencies. They got the guy from Dallas in the trade. They got Greenlaw came back, and then they got Jones and Hobbs, so from Miami and Green Bay. So, Zel, what do you think about this team? And well, obviously you don't want them to pick well, but if you were John Lynch, who would you take in these first couple picks?
They're pretty decent as their roster looks so far. The tight end situation, you got Kittle, he's still injury prone. He probably is gonna get better, but you have I think you have Jake Tonga still. Yeah, and he had a decent showing last year, so he can probably take over the wheels for a minute before Kittle comes back. But their pickups from the offense and the defense and the free agency was pretty good. But I think they need to focus on that defense more because we all know Mike Shanahan is fantastic as an offensive coordinator. He did show that in Atlanta, and he's shown that as a head coach. He's been to 2 Super Bowls with the same team in the 49ers. So, for me, I think they need a safety, they need an edge, and they need an offensive lineman. But they really need that safety position because that backdrop in the back was getting them killed with us when we played against them. And that shows the difference because they don't have help in the back. So if they can get a younger prospect with a veteran prospect in the back, they'll be pretty decent and can contend with the Rams. I don't know if we're going to contend this year. We probably just lay back this year. So
yeah, you'll be all right. All right, Sean, what do you think?
I love what the 49ers have done in free agency this year. Some real good on paper signings. What I love about Shanahan is, like Zell said, he's a great coach. He puts together creative offenses. Evans is one of those, but they also haven't had stars, on those offenses. Everybody kind of shares the load. They all have their moments. So Evans becomes one of those rare superstars you see on the wide receiver core. So, he'll command attention. And meanwhile, you got a guy like Kirk. He's one of those good but not great pickups that you've seen over the league these last few years. If he has a reliable role in this offense, it's just another one of those teams that can come at you in so many ways. So I like what they've done, but they need to show up their own line though, because who knows what's going to happen with Trent Williams. See, he's obviously one of the best that's ever played his position, but he's not going to play forever. He's getting up there in age. So they'll address an O-line eventually, but they need some back end help in some back end help in the secondary for sure.
Yeah, they just couldn't get home. They couldn't get any. They had no pass rush this year when they got injured. So I agree, Zel. They're probably going to do some edge of some kind. Maybe it's not in this first round. Maybe it's a second round pick. But
it's too bad there aren't injury mulligans that are available in this draft, because how many times would you want to go back and say, oh, if only this injury didn't happen? Nobody's been more held back by injuries than the 49ers these last 4 or 5 years.
They got to stop practicing next to that power plant, That's the issue. It weakens the ligaments and stuff. All right, let's go with the last team that we're going to review for all the teams. We'll go through all the divisions now. Your Arizona Cardinals. I know you're really excited. I mean, I know it's like the Jets and the Cardinals and the Browns really competing for your love here. They got the 3rd pick overall. They've got picks in the 2nd round. Then they skip to the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. So obviously you talked about Minshew already picked up. They still got Brissett down there. They pick up Kendrick Bourne and Duvernay from the Bears. They've got some offensive line guys they signed all over the place. Obviously, a new regime here. And they got Algier from Atlanta. So they dressed a lot of pieces in the offense. We'll see what happens with Harrison. On defense, they did land Lopez from Detroit and Billings from Chicago is a pretty good signing. I still think they need better edge players there, and they can get that at the number 3 pick. So, Scout, what do you think they'll do with 3? And then what do you think they have to address as they go down the line here?
Well, they're not nearly as set up for success as the Raiders are with everything they have in place. Gardner Minshew is certainly not going to be the long-term answer there at quarterback. He's going to be the transition piece of that position. So, it'll be interesting to see how they address that. And if Harrison goes, then there's really not going to be any excitement in Arizona for a while unless they get, a good return on him and maybe try to lay down a foundation like the Raiders have. But they need help at the edge. It probably would be the better idea to, use their early draft pick on somebody else other than a quarterback. So, because I figure next year will be better at that. So we'll see what happens. They could probably target another receiver just in case, with Harrison being, at least mentioned.
I mean, Simpson could fall to 34. It's a possibility. We talked about him going to the draft, but it's still possible he's at 34. So, Zel, what do you think? You don't even think about the Cardinals. I know you don't sweat on the
Cardinals. First and foremost, I'd like to give condolences to Dave McGinnis.
That's right.
Yeah, old former Cardinals coach. This organization, really disappoint me. They didn't really address stuff in the free agency. They did a little stuff here and there, but you release Kyler Murray and you sign Gardner Minshew. I mean, that's
just like, not glorious. No,
that's come on, man. That's Washington State right there. That's
You could have started Kirk if you wanted. I mean, he did give you 1 year.
You should have started Jacoby again. Like that, he was giving you wins more than Kyler. But
no kidding.
He's still on the roster. Just see.
Can Minshew throw the ball a quarter mile at least? Over the mountains.
Man, with their 3rd overall pick, I really think they need to get a quarterback, but picking Ty Simpson at 3, that wouldn't be right.
No, it wouldn't.
So, what I think they need to do, they need to focus on Simpson, like in the later rounds, like this probably the 2nd round, like Wicks said.
Sure.
And they got Jalen Thompson. He left free agency. Buda Baker's turned 30, and I don't know what they have for Taylor Demison in their future in the secondary. So I think they need an offensive line. They really need an offensive lineman. They need a quarterback. We already addressed that with Ty Simpson, and they need a safety because Buda Baker is getting old. Buda Baker is getting really old, and I don't even know why he's still there. Like, it might be the money because you're wasting your talents there in Arizona, and I know Arizona is a nice place to live in, but come on, man, like all the greats left, so you really the last all pro there. So it just hurts my heart that he's.
It does. It might be you mentioned the McGinnis thing. It might be time for Arizona Cardinal fans to go down memory lane for a while, since the current future of the team's going to stink. McGinnis, his very last game as head coach of the Cardinals was the end of that 03 season where Nathan Poole broke the hearts of Vikings fans across the world with that touchdown catch to shake the future of the NFL for years to come. And it was that affected the top 4 picks of the draft a few months later with Manning and Roethlisberger and Rivers and all those guys. A lot of it had to do with that result. So McGinnis's presence is certainly be felt there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, we did it, guys. We got through all the divisions. We can set up for the draft next week. We'll talk about next week, maybe just kind of go over the big picks and go down the ways again, just kind of review the picks. And then I don't know if you want to do a mock draft or not, but then we can talk about what we're going to do for the actual Thursdays. If you can't make it, it's fine. But I've been hearing that there's going to be some big show for the network. I'm going to try to do one with my other show, so maybe we'll do kind of a simulcast thing. So we'll figure it out next week and a half. Should be fun. It's kind of like early Christmas for the NFL before the opening day. So draft day is pretty exciting, at least for me anyway. So follow the network at PCSN Media on X, Prime Coverage Sports Network on Facebook and Instagram. Follow me at Wickspool on X and Instagram. Zel, where can we find you again?
Find me on Facebook at Denzel Smith and find me on Instagram at Windy City Kid.
And the Scout, he didn't change his name.
Yours truly at Facebook at Sean Davich or Twitter/X at Sean Davich.
All right, guys. Well, we'll talk next week. Get ready for the draft in like 9 days. Pretty exciting. I'm getting excited. So do all your research and we'll talk about it next week.
Can't wait to talk about it.
Can't wait.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, hey, drop.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.